Hello, my name is Ashley Wheat, and I am part of the Health and Safety team at Child Care Licensing Bureau. Today, I'll be reviewing parts 4, 5, and 6 of the updated Center Child Care Licensing rules that cover general health and safety, program and care, and food services and nutrition. We'll focus on rule numbers 400.8251 through rules 400.8341. I'll provide an overview of the new rules in those sections and their rule changes and how these changes can apply to your program. Let's get started. So part 4, general health and safety. The first rule here is under hand washing under rule number 400.8251. You'll see at the top of the screen it says new rule number and amended, meaning that this rule moved and it was slightly changed. So sub rule 1D says all staff and volunteers shall wash their hands at all of the following times: before and after giving medication. So the change here was after medication. Sub rule 2 says program staff and volunteers shall ensure that children wash their hands at all of the following times: A, before and after meals, snacks, or food preparation experiences; C, after contact with any bodily fluids. So the changes are after meals, food experiences, snacks, and after contact with any bodily fluids. Sub-rule 5 says when soap and running water are not available during an outing, hand sanitizers containing not less than 60% alcohol or single-use wipes may be used as a temporary measure. So containing not less than 60% alcohol, we're now specifying how much alcohol has to be in hand sanitizers used during an outing. Rule number 400.8251, this is a new, or 57, this is a new rule. A center shall use standard precautions regarding prevention, exposure, and disposal of biocontaminants. Under child illness, under 8263, new rule number and amended here. So this was moved and slightly changed on sub rule 2. A center shall ensure that a child is too ill to remain, who is too ill to remain in the group, is placed in a separate area and is cared for and supervised by program staff or unsupervised volunteer until the parent arrives. The separate area may be an unlicensed space such as the office area, reception area, or hallway, but supervision must occur during this time. Food preparation areas may not be used. So the change is that if a child is too ill to remain in the group, they may be placed in a separate area that is unlicensed, such as the office area, reception area, hallway, and supervision must occur. And then we're specifying that it cannot be in a food preparation area. The supervision cannot be in a food preparation area. Under 8269, another new rule number and amended, so this was moved as well. Emergency preparedness and response planning procedures. Sub rule 1, written plans and procedures for emergency preparedness and response planning for the care of children and staff in each of the following emergencies must be developed and implemented. And what we added here was C, floods; D, power outages; in E, extreme weather events. All other all other letters were there previously. So the changes were added to having a written plan and procedure for floods, power outages, and extreme weather events. Then sub rule 2 of 8269 says the written procedures must include all of the following as applicable to the type of emergency. F, a plan for the continuity of operations. So what are you going to do to continue care? So all written procedures now have to have letter F addressed if they don't already. So plan for the continuity of operations. 8269 subrule 3 says a hard copy of the plans must be posted as indicated below. So posted and visible for all is A, fire, B, tornado, C, flood, D, power outages. Known and accessible but not necessarily visible are E, other extreme weather events, F, other natural and man-made disasters, G, serious injuries or accidents, H, bomb threat and other man-made emergencies. And then only visible for staff and volunteers is intruder or active shooter. And the change here was that bomb threat was now moved to a place now needs to be known and accessible, not necessarily visible. That moved from being only visible for staff and volunteers. So that was a change. Letter H. 8269 under emergency preparedness continued. Sub rule 5, this was amended. All staff present at the center and volunteers shall be trained on and participate in the drills held during their presence at the center. So volunteers was added. Sub-Rule 6 was also amended. A fire drill program consisting not less than one fire drill every 3 months must be established and implemented. So Sub-Rule 8 was amended saying drills for all other emergency plans not listed in Sub-Rule 6 and 7 of this rule must be conducted annually. So I'll go back a slide here that is saying that the drills for fire and tornado are still needing to be conducted quarterly, but flood, power outages, all the rest of the drills need to be conducted annually. They can be, if you have the same procedure for those other disaster events, you may be able to combine the events together if they have the same steps. So you could, if you have the same steps for extreme weather events or other natural man-made disasters, you may use the same drill to be conducted annually. So under new rules actually under 8269, emergency preparedness continued. Subrule 12 says if the fire alarm is not monitored, 911 must be contacted immediately on notice. Subrule 13 says centers established and operated by an intermediate school district or a local school district and located in a school building may use the school's emergency preparedness plan or drills, or both, if they meet all of the requirements of this rule. So subrule 12 says 911 must be contacted immediately on notice if you don't have a fire alarm that is monitored by like a service. It's saying you must contact 911 immediately. Subrule 13 is saying that if you are a center established and operated by an intermediate school district or local school district and located in a building, you may use the school's emergency preparedness or drills or both if they meet all of the requirements in this rule. Under 8269A, this is a new rule. This is the Food Allergy Response Plan. Sub-Rule 1 says a written plan for the prevention and response to emergencies due to food and allergic reactions must be developed and implemented to include a child care plan. prevention measures, and emergency procedures. Subrule 2 is a little different than the first previous rule of Subrule 1. Subrule 1 is the center's written plan for emergency procedures for a food allergy response. Subrule 2 is what's called the child's care plan. And this must include all of the following at a minimum. A, the child's name with the list of their food allergies. B, the names, doses, and methods of medication administration if the child should receive, if there is a allergic reaction. And C, training on the recognition of the child's allergic reaction. Subrule 3 continued on the food allergy response plan of 8269A. The child's care plan must be carried on field trips. Subrule 4 says the prevention measures of this food allergy response plan must include all of the following at a minimum. Notify parents and guardians of all new known food allergens to avoid bringing in foods to the classroom or center. B, post the child's name or known food allergy prominently in the classroom or other area on parent approval. C, train program staff and unsupervised volunteers on the symptoms of anaphylaxis. D, prevent food sharing between children. Special note here is making sure that when we're saying post the child's name and known food allergy prominently in the classroom or other area on known parent approval. So making sure that parents approve of children's names and allergies being posted is important here. Subrule 5 of 8269 discusses the emergency procedures of the food allergy response plan. Must include all of the following at a minimum. Promptly and properly administer medications in the event of an allergic reaction according to the instructions in the child's care plan. B, contact emergency medical services immediately if any child has a serious allergic reaction. A new suspected serious allergic reaction occurs with any child, or whenever epinephrine is administered, even if the child appears to have recovered from the allergic reaction. C, notify parents or guardians immediately of any suspected allergic reactions, the ingestion of the problem food, or contact with the problem food, even if reaction did not occur. So under 8269A, Subrule 5, important notes here would be to notify parents or guardians immediately if there's any suspected allergic reactions or ingestion of a problem food, even if there's not a reaction. Contact EMS, emergency medical services, if any child has a serious allergic reaction, and pay special attention to properly and promptly administering medications according to the instructions on the child's care plan. Okay, under 8269B, the outdoor benefit risk assessment, subrule 1 says an outdoor and nature-based child care center shall submit an outdoor benefit risk assessment on a form prescribed by the department that includes, but is not limited to, all of the following. A, information about the site or sites that will be used. B, different seasons of the year, such as summer versus winter plans based on how conditions change within sites, and locations by the center, used by the center on a regular basis. Additionally, on the outdoor benefit risk assessment, we have to have risky play activities, including but not limited to all of the following: climbing natural features, water activities, using sharp tools, plant foraging and gardening, program pets and livestock management, campfire activities, activities near water, cliffs, steep slopes, or other potentially hazardous natural features. Additionally, on the outdoor benefit risk assessment under 8269B, guidance for when increased staffing is necessary and provide guidance for the development of the applicable risk management policies and procedures in sub-rule 1 of this rule. This outdoor benefit risk assessment has been developed on by the department and is available on our website. Sub-rule 2 of 8269 is discussing the risk management plan. So an outdoor nature-based childcare center shall have a risk management plan that includes, but is not limited to, all of the following. A, encountering non-program pets and wildlife. B, interacting with strangers. C, the shared use of public spaces. D, whether requiring the use of an emergency shelter and access to the shelter during program hours. E, requiring clothing and keeping children dressed for the weather, using public facilities or other buildings. G, encountering poisonous species. H, all other hazardous situations and natural features. And now we're on part 5 for program and care. The first rule here that was changed was rule number 400.8271, new rule number and amended. A center shall implement a child development program plan that includes daily learning experiences appropriate to the developmental level of children. Experiences must be designed to develop all of the following, which are described in Michigan's early childhood standards of quality. So A, B, C, and D are all the same. What was added here is approaches to play and learning. Rule number 8274, sub rule 3, talking about primary care for infants and toddlers. Each infant and toddler shall have not more than 4 primary teachers in a week. What was added here is these 4 primary teachers shall remain with the children for the program year to promote continuity of care for the children. For centers operating less than 24 hours a day, an exception may occur during the first hour after the center opens and the hour before closing. So that is still the same. The next bolded lines are added information. This rule does not preclude a primary teacher from being relieved by another teacher or a child care staff member while taking a lunch period or short break. This rule does not preclude a center from advancing a child to another classroom with new primary teachers if developmentally appropriate. So this is saying that primary teachers are allowed to have breaks, and it doesn't mean that they can't have a break because they are the primary teacher. This says that the center can advance a child with new primary teachers if it is developmentally appropriate. This is just trying to promote continuity of care for our youngest learners. Sub-rule 4 of the same 8274 with primary care. Primary teachers' schedules for each infant or toddler must be documented and provided to parents. So what was changed here is schedules must be provided. It used to say assignments. Now we're providing schedules because it's important for parents to know which teacher is working when their child is being cared for. 8277, a child under nighttime care, a child shall be allowed to go back to sleep if dropped off during any nighttime hours. Subrule 3 says if a child is in nighttime care for more than 1 hour, a crib, a portable crib, a mat, or cot appropriate to the age of the child must be available. I believe that is a change from not having beds, so now we are accepting cribs, portable cribs, or cots appropriate to the age of the child. Under discipline, new rule number and amended, sub rule 2, all of the following means of punishment are prohibited. A through G did not change, but I was amended, or H was amended. Isolating a child in an adjacent room, closet, locked room, box, hallway, darkened area, play area, or another area where the child cannot be seen or supervised is prohibited. Still under discipline here, under 8280 sub rule 3, time out must only be used in combination with instructional approaches that teach children what to do in place of the behavior problem. B says the program staff or volunteer shall remain calm when placing the child in timeout. 8280 for discipline, new rule number and amended still. We amended sub rule 4, a non-severe and developmentally appropriate restraint for an enrolled child with special behavioral or mental health issues may be used if reasonably necessary based on the child's development to prevent a child from harming themselves or to prevent a child from harming other individuals or property, excluding those forms of punishment prohibited by sub rule 2 of this rule. The plan for when restraint should be used, the actual use of the restraint, such as holding the child as gently as possible, and timed use of the restraint must be developed in collaboration with the parent or guardian, with the parent or guardian given final approval of the plan. So this has been amended here, obviously, with the bolded information saying that if we're having a child with special behavioral and mental health issues, if restraint is may be used if reasonably necessary based on the child's development to prevent a child from harming themselves or harming others. But the big key here is that the plan for when the restraint should be used, such as how to use the restraint and the timed use of that restraint, must be developed in collaboration with the parent or guardian and the parent or guardian given final approval of that plan. Now we're on food services and nutrition, part 6. So many rules in this section have been replaced with washed, rinsed, and sanitized that we're used to with clean and sanitized. And so reminder from our previous section with definitions, clean means removing dirt, food, soil, and other types of debris by scrubbing and washing with detergent solution and rinsing with water. So clean is part 1 and part 2 of the 3-step process. Not necessarily just 2 steps now. It's still the 3-step process. Clean just is different wording. So under food service and nutrition definitions, rule number 8301, new rule number and amended, it was moved. Letter L, we have time temperature control for safety food, or what's called TCS food in parts of the book, means any food that consists in whole or in part of milk or milk products, egg, meat, poultry, fish, shellfish, edible crustacean, or other ingredients, including synthetic ingredients, in a form capable of supporting rapid and progressive growth of infectious or toxigenic microorganisms. So this use replaced the words potentially hazardous food. It's the same definition, just new words. Food preparation areas 8310, new rule number and amended, sub rule 3. Mechanical ventilation to the outside is required for all fuel-fired cooking equipment, including but not limited to stoves, ranges, ovens, and griddles. So what was changed here was the bolded and underlined words fuel fired. Fuel fired replaces commercial. So it used to say commercial. Now we're being just very specific. Under food preparation 8320, new rule number and amended, sub rule 2, food must be prepared on food grade surfaces that have been cleaned and sanitized. So there you see, cleaned and sanitized would still be washed, rinsed, and sanitized. Just clean changed the meaning. Sub-Rule 6, food must be cooked to heat all parts of the food to the food safe temperature identified by the Michigan Food Code and Food Law Safe Guidelines at the website on your screen. This website is also linked in the new rule book as well as the technical assistance manual. Under food preparation 8320 still, new rule number and amended, sub rule 12 says in the absence of proper hand washing facilities on field trips, individuals preparing and serving food shall use hand sanitizer and wear sanitary disposable food service gloves properly. So hand sanitizer was added and wearing those disposable gloves properly. So you can't have a finger sticking out of the glove. The glove has to be on properly. Under dishwashing, 8325 new rule number and amended, sub rule 4 for C and D here were amended. So multi-use tableware and utensils must be cleaned and sanitized using one of the following methods. Sub-rule C specifies how that can happen. So a 3-compartment sink to wash in the first compartment, to rinse in the second compartment, to sanitize in the third compartment. D, a 2-compartment sink for washing in the first compartment, rinsing in the second compartment, and a third container suitable for complete submersion for sanitizing. So you'll see the bolded words on the screen are the ones that were added, and we're being very clear on how to wash multi-use tableware and utensils. Sub Rule 5 under 8325, still dishwashing continued, new rule number and some amended parts here. Sub Rule 5 says if manual washing method is used, as referenced in the previous slide, or Sub Rule 4C and D of this rule, all the following must be done. B, in the first compartment, wash using detergent and water at or above 110 degrees Fahrenheit or at the temperature specified by the detergent manufacturer. Subrule C says, in the second compartment, rinse in clear water, making sure to remove all traces of food and detergent. D, in the third compartment or suitable container, sanitize using one of the following methods. I, immersion for not less than 30 seconds in clean hot water of not less than 171 degrees Fahrenheit. II, immersion with a food grade sanitizing solution as described on the manufacturer's label for sanitizing. A test kit or other device that measures the correct concentration of the solution must be used when a chemical is used for sanitizing. And then E, air dry on a clean and sanitized surface. Do not use a towel for drying. Under food services and nutrition generally, Rule 8330, new rule number and amended. Sub Rule 10 discusses menus. Menus must be planned in advance and dated and made available to parents. Food substitutions must be noted on the menus of the day the substitution occurs. So we replaced posted with made available to parents. Menus just have to be made available and not necessarily posted. But we still are asking that food substitutions be noted on the menus the day the substitution occurs. And then 8335 on food services provided by the center, sub rule 20, food containing contaminants such as lead recalled through the Food and Drug Administration or the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development must be properly disposed of and not served again. 8340 under food services provided by parents, new rule number and amended here, sub rule 11, other perishable beverages and food items not discarded by the end of the day must be dated and refrigerated or otherwise maintained at a safe temperature until used, which must not be more than 7 calendar days after the date opened. Under 8341, the Drinking Water Management Plan, pursuant to 3I of the Act under MCL 722.113I, no later than January 24th, 2025, the Center shall develop and implement a drinking water management plan, conduct water sampling and testing after filters have been installed, and conduct remediation as needed and retain records. So this is saying that you have to have a drinking water management plan, conduct water sampling and testing, and fix a problem if there is, and retain records of those actions. Should you need any help, we have wonderful Filter First consultants available to help with your questions. And then still under the Drinking Water Management Plan, 8341, Sub Rule 2 says pursuant to Section 3J of the Act, MCL MCL 722.113J, no later than October 24th, 2025, the center shall comply with the requirements of the duties of a center under the Drinking Water Management Plan, including ensuring that drinking water furnished to children for human consumption is from a filtered faucet or other filtered source, meeting the standards as required in the Section 3JB of the Act, MCL 722.113J. So that is saying that you will ensure that drinking water furnished to children is for human consumption is from a filtered faucet, meeting the standards of the Filter First. And then sub rule 3 says pursuant to 3K of the Act, MCL 722.113K, if a center is located in a school building that complies with the Clean Drinking Water Access Act, 2023 PA 154, MCL 380.1901 to 380.1911, the center is considered compliant with this rule. So sub-rule 3 is saying that if your center is located in a school building that complies with the Clean Drinking Water Access Act, the center is considered compliant with this rule. And that is the end of part 6. Thank you for joining me.